Greetings Internet, DDA here, and welcome to my updated version of my Devious Trunks Sword Beatdown. I'm super excited to show you guys this list and to show you all my hard work that's gone into making this list work for the set 5 meta. This is not the list that I played at ARG Pittsburgh, but it is the list that I should have played. So without further ado, let's get started here and talk about the list. So let's just scan over the list real quick. So we got Trunks, 1 through 3 Premier, and 4 Evolution, Devious Mastery. So I guess you could call this a sword beatdown deck, but we only actually play 5 sword cards. And as you can see, the rest is just strong, devious beatdown cards. Got a lot more blocks than I usually ran. A good amount of events. Got Black Command in here. As well as we're running Smoothness Drill. And we're running the Removal, Banish, Stripping deck suite. So really good deck. So let's just talk about the changes from 1.0 to 2.0. So the biggest change we made from the 1.0 to the 2.0 version, and probably the most controversial change, is the dropping of Aggressive Sword Drill, Combination Drill, and 2 Sword Stance. Because I feel like these are kind of, well, not so much the Combination Drill, but the Aggressive Sword and the Stance kind of go hand in hand. We dropped those for 2 Smoothness Drill and 2 Black Command. Now, why did we do this? Well, there's a couple reasons. The first reason is that Black Smoothness Drill is essentially the same as Aggressive Sword Drill. So the major differences between Smoothness Drill and Aggressive Sword Drill are, with Aggressive Sword Drill, you can still kind of go aggressive the first turn you play it down, fitting for the name. However, much like Smoothness Drill, you're not going to be able to generate card advantage unless you pass. So that's the first major difference there. The advantages of Smoothness Drill are, a lot of times I would find I didn't have sword cards left in my deck, especially since I dropped Empowered Sword Slash. So late game, you don't have sword cards left in your deck. Aggressive Sword Drill is a dead draw. Also, Smoothness Drill has Endurance and is black, so I can always use it with my Mastery. Overall, Smoothness Drill just gives me better mileage in this deck. So that's why I dropped it for that. Now the adding of Command over Stance is very, it's interesting. And so, actually Dan Osmond suggested that I do this. And ever since I did it, I was converted. I think Stance is a good card in other styles, but Black has enough anger to generate that I don't need Stance. And the great thing about Command, I've had another player mention to me, well, Trunks isn't really good at leveling inside combat. Why would you want to play Command over Stance? Well, what Command does for you is it allows you to level outside of combat, unlike any other card does. And that is excellent with Trunks because my powers are used when entering combat. So I can level from 1 to 2 before even combat starts. Also, a major difference is that with Stance, I'm losing a card always to get a level. With Command, I can typically use it with my Mastery, get a level, and generate card advantage for myself with my Mastery, making it even better. And to even push this further, making this card an auto-include in this deck, I hated how with Stance, I was resetting my anger. So often I would, play a black Swirl, play a black Knee Catch, or a black Lunge. I'd have a few anger, and then I'd have to reset it with Trunks Sword Stance. With Command, never have that issue. Either I'm getting a level outside of combat, or I'm getting close to a level inside of combat. And let me tell you, there is nothing better than being on level 3, entering combat with 4 or 3 anger, getting that card advantage, and then jumping to the 4 inside combat. So Trunks definitely has advantage from leveling inside combat, not just gaining 10 power stages, but the transition from 3 to 4 is spectacular if you can do it inside combat. So this is what I'm sticking with for now, and it's been working out way better. The next major change that I made, kind of going along with the last change, is the completely dropping of Black Empowered Sword Slash for 3 copies of Black Lunge. So the endurance count is even, which I liked, as well as, there were a few things I didn't like about this card. The hefty cost is the first main one. 3 power stages when added on to the opponent doing stage damage to you, and then you have 2 physical attacks that cost a stage, or the infamous sword slash into empowered sword slash combo is actually a 4-stage cost to do that combo. So it's just too costly. Also, the generating of card advantage with this card, the random putting to the top of the life deck, it actually hurt me sometimes, because there would be several times where I would almost be just giving my opponent a card back into his life deck, just straight up. If I wasn't able to do it early enough in combat, it wasn't really generating any advantage for me. So we're going to add in 3 Black Lunge. Amazing card, goes straight for the life, so gets a round ball 6, and it's just excellent late game. It also generates anger, so since we added in command, we wanted a little bit more Piecewise Anger. The next major change I made to this deck was the dropping of 1 black finger block, so we still play 2 of these, and 2 black chin kicks for 3 black knee catches. Now, I didn't really need stages as much in the deck anymore with the 3 finger blocks. I dropped the Empowered Sword Slash, and that was my main stage drain in the deck. As well as allies aren't really that prominent anymore. Ginyu kind of takes a backseat, as well as I found the supreme cream level of damage that this deck can push out. Most of my attacks are hitting between 10 and 16 damage, especially when you talk about me getting on the level 3. I didn't really care about my opponent having extra stages on allies. It wasn't really an issue. Most of the issues came in with allies when you talk about like Chi-Chi generating extra blocks, or same with Goldo, but I can kind of play around those, and I still have Black Declaration. So I wanted more physical blocks in the deck, and I wanted to push the Piecewise Anger. You may be asking yourself, well, why are you playing all these anger cards? Why don't you just drop it and play Stance? Well, when I played Stance, sometimes they hit the discard pile, random draws happen. If I spread the anger out in my deck evenly, then I will make for consistent leveling. Black Command, Black Knee Catch, Black Lunge, these are all Piecewise Anger cards that make me level. I have already leveled up to level 4 with 0 Black Discoveries. That's right, I still had Anger Victory active. I've done it, and you can do it too, and this extra physical block in the deck is going to be great against ruthless decks, and just the onslaught of Cell and excellent physical attacks this game has. Next up for the changes, we got dropping of 2 Black Refusals, so we still play 1 of this. We still play this as a 1 of, for 2 Black Defensive Burst. In my meta, I found that a lot of people were running setups and drills, a lot of people were running blue decks, but blue decks aren't really prominent when you get to OP. They're kind of complicated, and they take a lot of thought to play, so not a lot of people are playing blue decks, but you still want the 1 Black Refusal, as well as the old version of this deck played a lot of setups and drills that it could pitch that were useless in certain situations. This deck does not. Every setup or drill that enters play, besides maybe Black Smoothness when you're about to level, you want to keep on the field or you want to use. So Black Refusal is one of those cards that's kind of like a latch disc effort, or get rid of those really powerful setups and drills on the opponent's side of the field. We added 2 Black Defensive Bursts. Amazing card against Cell. Great card against Krillin. For some reason, Krillin is now running more physicals than energies. And then also just anything ruthless or anything that runs physical attacks. A lot of people run them. This deck, once you're on your level 4, this deck will stage lock your opponent naturally. So if you can Black Defensive Burst for 6 stages, lock the opponent out of energies, and then hit the defensive burst, locking him out of physicals, it's a double swing that will just throw the combat completely in your favor. Alright guys, the next major change I made was the dropping of Sinister Choke for Heroic Jab. Now, this was not an easy change to make, and let me tell you how much I hated dropping Sinister Choke, because I love this card. It's especially good in the control matchup, just for doing clean life cards of damage, getting Wall Breaker off you, stealing a Dragon Ball. It's great against Dragon Ball Victory decks, or Roshi, or tons and tons and tons and tons of decks this card is good against. But I did want more board control, as well as Heroic Jab adds AT damage, whereas Choke does not. So this attack has a much higher damage ceiling. You know, it can do 9 damage instead of 5. As well as it helps with Devious and board clear. It can be used as a block, which I've done before on Cell's power or possibly Krillin's power. But I typically use it as an attack. Getting near the ending of the changes, we dropped 1 Dashing Sword, so we still played 2 of these, and our single copy of Dev Blow for 2 black resistances. This is mainly for, I found that 3 energy blocks, the 3 swipes, were just not enough. I thought I could stage lock energy decks, but often that's not going to happen. They're going to have allies, they're going to block your physicals, and sometimes you need that extra energy block, especially late game. Also, it has Endurance 3 and gives me Anger. The Dev Blow really wasn't doing anything for me. I didn't need the anti-anger with Discovery. I didn't need the extra banishing with Sword Slash. As well as, since I dropped Empowered Sword Slash, I only have 3 sword cards that I can tutor in my discard pile. I dropped 1 Dashing Sword on a whim and found I liked it better at 2 copies because every time it ended up in my hand, I could tutor a sword card with it. Getting to the final changes here, we dropped our single copy of Black Teamwork and single copy of Energy Web. You know, the single copies aren't helping too much anymore. The previous version played the new level 3, so I had the toolbox, and that's why I played a lot of one-ofs. So we don't do that anymore. But instead we maxed out on copies of Black Swirl, both for the anger and for the utility. Black Swirl has been just MVP in this deck, being able to shut down Time as a Warrior's tool, shut down the Visiting the Past targets or Ball 7 targets, or just looking at the top with my Trunks 4, or using Confrontation and just being able to name multiple cards. After Trunks, Black Swirl is an auto-include in both Trunks and 20 decks, and I stand by that. 3 Black Swirl, never leaving my deck. Final change we made to this deck is the dropping of Heroic Plan and Tree of Might for Black Declaration and Confrontation. And, you know, we dropped Tree of Might because we added Black Smoothness Drill, but even further than that, I just wanted to increase the aggression of this deck, so I maxed out on both copies of Black Declaration and Confrontation. Board clear, endurance, and able to be used during combat with my mastery, as well as just amazing aggressive card, just being able to see my opponent's hand, utilize my card advantage on 3 to take out that one high threat card like a Namekian Leaping Kick or Hybrid Defense that I don't want to deal with in combat. So those are the changes, lots of changes from 1.0 to 2.0. But let me tell you guys, this deck is 10 times better. You're going to love this list. Try it out and play it. So now let's talk about the bench cards. So these are the bench cards. Not a very big bench. There's not many cards right now that I'm considering to add into this deck, because I've been playing a lot around with the ratios, and the first thing I would do if I'd make changes to my deck is work in a second Refusal and back in my 3rd Dashing Sword attack. But I have been considering, I want to add both these back in. Maybe Black Empowered Sword Slash as a one-of, just to be able to tutor it, or possibly do combos with my Mastery and then tutoring it with Dashing Sword. As well as Sinister Choke is just excellent against Roshi, so I want to add that back in as well. But other than that, this list is just tight and solid. I feel it's good. There's not much I want to add in. So now let's talk about general strategy and how you're going to play the deck. So now let's go over a general strategy of how you're going to win with this Black Devious Trunks deck. Unlike any other aggressive deck, this is kind of a mid-range deck. So the aggression level of this deck and the ability of this deck to stage lock is extremely high, but you're not really going to want to enter early game. There's only going to be a few decks that you're going to want to enter early game, mainly Black Krillin, because you want that game to be over as fast as possible. You don't want him looping discs on you. You don't want him looping foreshadowings on you or Ball 7. You want none of that. So, Krillin and other heavy energy beat decks like Yamcha and Orange Krillin. Those are the only decks you'll typically want to go aggressive on. But no matter what, you're still going to want to play a slow early game. You're never going to want to enter on Cell. You're never going to want to enter on any Ruthless deck. Just don't enter. And I almost don't even care what you draw into your hand. Why don't you want to enter? You're going to set up the early game with Black Discovery, with Black Searching Technique, possibly Black Smoothness Drill, and you're going to draw into this guy. And you're going to get that early game anger. Your level 1 is not the strongest, so you don't want to put yourself in a bad position that you're entering on your level 1 and then you're stage locked at 0 and then they enter on you and there's not much you can do about it. You're basically going to play this game in 2 phases. The first, phase 1, early game, is when you're going to focus on leveling and you're going to focus on stripping your opponent of all his blocks. And I want to be very specific about this. You are going to use these 3 cards, Black Enraged Assault, Black Scout Maneuver, and Black Searching Technique, and you are going to focus his blocks. No, I don't care what you're playing. I don't care who you're facing on the other end of this. It's going to be blocks every time. Do not scout disc. Scout quick dodge. Scout finger block. Scout knee catch. Make sure you're going to call the scout right. Do not scout leaping kick. Scout hybrid defense. Scout Namekian flinch. It does not matter if they level because of this card. You do not care if they level. Play your Devourings. Play your leaping kicks. Play everything that you want. We will put you back down levels. We will slow down your game with this card and make it so all of our attacks are hitting with these 3 cards, and we're always going to push out more damage. We're going to banish everything and push out more damage. So 2 phases. Phase 1, strip their deck of all their blocks. Don't care who you're facing. Blocks, blocks, blocks. Next phase, you're going to start leveling. You're going to level up to level 2. You're going to level up to level 3. Once you hit 3, you're going to go hyper aggressive and enter always. It does not matter if you put yourself in a bad position with this 3. You're always going to have a card advantage. You're always going to be able to choose cards that you want in your hand and ones that you don't want to draw. It's amazing, and you can't really get in a bad position while being on this level 3. Swirl is going to be your most important card late game. Especially if you don't manage to get out their Time as a Warrior's Tool. Your first target with Black Searching Technique every single game should be Time as a Warrior's Tool. Does not matter what you're facing. Time as a Warrior's Tool is the first card that goes with this card. If you can't manage to get out time, Black Swirl is going to be there for you late game. Or, if they put 2 attacks in their hand, you're facing an orange deck and they just put 2 orange destructions on the top of their deck. Or you're facing a black deck, they put 2 black foreshadowings on the top of their deck. If you can get a double call with this, it's going to be great for you. And I always have people ask me, what if I don't have I'll Dig Your Grave? What should I add in this deck if I don't have I'll Dig Your Grave? Sorry guys, I'm going to have to tell you, as far as Black Devious hard beatdown is concerned, I wouldn't play it without I'll Dig Your Grave, not in this format. I need the leveling, I need the non-prevention, and Black doesn't have any options to shut off prevention other than this card. So I would almost suggest you to just play Saiyan Trunks if you wanted to, if you didn't have I'll Dig Your Graves. So once you get to 4, you're gonna want to go hyper aggressive still, but be careful, because it's not like you're 3 where you can just be hyper aggressive and not even care about your opponent's turn. You can get into bad spots with this 4. It doesn't generate you any card advantage. It just pushes out major damage. It is really heavily dependent on what you have in your hand. So be careful. Jump to this level when you can seal the game. So that's it for my updated Devious Trunks Sword Beatdown deck, guys. I love this deck, and I don't regret playing it at Pittsburgh ARG, although I do regret dropping this card. I dropped it for for the Pittsburgh ARG, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made. This card is amazing against blue, amazing against black and orange. You reflection their stare downs back on them, reflection betrayals back on them. It gives you board control, it gives you everything that you need. Never drop this in Trunks. You have targeted removal. Always keep this at 2, if not 3. So thanks for tuning in, guys, for my updated Black Trunks build. Try this out. Let me know how it goes in the comment section below. Please don't hesitate to hit that like button if you like this video. And as always, turn your dial to Random Number Gaming for weekly updates for the Dragon Ball Z card game.